Get the pepper we make pray. Eloni, you don't get umbrella. Tell me I'm about to make it tree. Motimbo, entourage like a gomina, but me I'm showing off. Real wealth, I work hard, and I know they stop. If you like, you can cut the cuffs. They know the job. Who want talk? Say we know the job.
7 days a week.
High Power 102.7 FM, the voice that echoes through every home, every heart. From the streets to the studio, we bring you real talk, real music, and real moments. We are not just a station, we are a movement. High Power 102.7 FM, the pride of the people.
My friend, time down on you. Make you not play with your work, yeah.
Yes, so good afternoon again. We don't come with another better Obonge edition of Money Sense. Yes, good afternoon and welcome to another power packaged edition of Money Sense on your darling station, Power 102.7 FM. Yes, this is your safe space. How to help you spend your money. You know, I always say that when I come on board like this, the goal of the program is to help you spend your money prudently. Yes, you make sense of the money you are making. So yes, my name is Floxy. My friends call me Floxy. And the program is Money Sense on your darling station, Power 102.7 FM.
Time na money, oh. Time na money. Time na money, eh. Time na money. Use your time well.
Today we'll be talking about debt and financial mistakes. Yes, the kind of debt you put yourself into and the financial mistakes you must have done at some point of your life, and you ask yourself, oh, was this a good debt or a bad debt? We'll be looking at the differences between good debt and bad debt, common financial mistakes people make daily, and of course, how to get out and stay out of debt.
No waka waka, no gossip gossip, no that man.
Yes, how do you even understand debt? Do you also understand that debt is not always a bad thing? We have some good debts and we have some bad debts. So when you say something is a good debt, what does that imply? If you borrow money, for instance, to fund your business, get education investment, buy productive assets, those are good debt, because you know at the end of the day something would come out of that investment and be able to pay off the bad debt or pay off the good debt you just acquired. But when we call something bad debt, yeah, borrowing money to fund a lifestyle, buying clothes, going to party, getting gadgets, or taking loans, for instance, to impress others and using the loan to pay another loan. So which is which? So now the difference is, one is a good debt because from whatever you're inquiring of whatever you are gaining from that debt, you would get times 2 or even more, and you'll be able to pay off your debt and still have resources. Because if you borrow loan, if you take a loan, for instance, and you acquire education, after getting the education, you would get a job. Subsequently, you can pay off your debts. Now, when you pay off your debts, you still keep having money because of what you've acquired education. But if you get into debt, for instance, because you want to fund a lifestyle, or you want to acquire a gadget, or you want to do something that does not really appreciate, how do you get out of that debt? Now, it also becomes a bad debt when you make it a lifestyle to always borrow money to pay money. You borrow from this place, you go to another place to borrow to offset the one you borrowed here, then you go to another place again to borrow to offset. So it goes in circle. So all of those are bad debt, while good debt are the debt you inquire because you want to grow your business, you want to get education, or you want to even buy an asset that would give you more money in the future.
Time na money,
And the truth is, many people are not really borrowing because they want to grow from it. They're just borrowing to survive and cope with life. Yeah, so the moment you think you can just borrow and just, enjoy the moment, or do one or two, or just leave the way it comes, then you are actually trending on a dangerous path. Because nobody copes with debt. That is dangerous. So you cannot make borrowing money or obtaining loans here and there as a lifestyle because you just want to flex. Now, what are the common financial mistakes one might make? Now, let's get into real issues. Now, the first thing is living above your means. This is what you earn. This is how you can survive. This is what you can do. Yet every other day you are living above your income. Even when you have 2-3 businesses, how far those businesses can go. What you can use to sustain and how you can sustain. Yet every time you want to live above your means, even when you earn 100k, your lifestyle looks 300k, your lifestyle looks 400k, your lifestyle looks 1 million. So the moment you live above your means, you would always find yourself in debt and probably borrow from one to clear one and borrow from another to clear another one. So yes, constant eating out, unnecessary subscription, expensive habits, all of this doesn't add up. So long it doesn't align with what you earn, it's a wrong financial mistake. And yes, when you don't have budget or direction, you don't have a budget. Yes, if you don't plan your money, like I always say, your money will disappear. And you'll be asking yourself, how did I spend my money? I had money yesterday. If you don't plan the money, it will go, because you would always want to spend, doing impulse buying and trying to, impress people looking at you. Before you know it, you're back to square one. So yes, people don't even know where their salary goes, because before the first week before the salary enters, it's finished, because they've already acquired so much debt that the money itself, the salary that is coming, cannot even offset. So yes, the first financial mistake you'll be making that will not take you away from financial debt is the fact that you live above your means. 2, no budget, no direction. Anywhere but left face, you just want to just do anything you like and however you like it. 3, overconfidence on loan app. Yes, you know that you have so many bank apps on your phone, and you're like, I can always go here. I collect from this one, I collect from this one, I collect from that one. Forgetting that banks are not even fools. They are actually those apps that are on ground for them to make profit. So they are making money off you. You think you're using them for, yes, immediate gratification. You're using them for your immediate need, but they are making money off you. Because how do you tell me now that you borrow 30k and you're paying back 55,000 naira or 60,000 naira, depending on how long you waste time to return back the money? So how do you tell me? But because you can get access to it at your, before you say Jack, you've gotten the money, you think it's a free word. Nothing comes free. So yes, when you have access or when you over depend on loan apps, it tends to want to make you misbehave over time. You want to just do things, free volition. I can borrow 20k today. Next week you pay back with 35,000. You go again and borrow 45,000. Now, how much of a profit do you even make? Do you even sit down to even think that, okay, this money I'm paying interest on, what did I earn from this money? Did I really earn? Did they really give me anything back? So why am I borrowing? So because you have access to loan apps, you now so depend on them. Before you even have a little difficulties, you've entered an app to go and borrow. So yes, all of these are financial mistakes that will not even allow you get off debts, because you will just keep, going around the circles and just keep owing and owing and owing and owing and owing and owing till that becomes your cross.
Time and money.
And yes, you ignore small debts. When you owe, you owe this one, you owe this person 5,000, you owe this person 10,000, you owe this person 30,000. Just like I just feel it's just 30,000. It's not 150. It's not 500. You keep owing and owing different segments or different places, and forgetting that when you pile them up, it's actually something. So yes, when you just feel that there's no point of returning it back fast because I can always return it back. I can, that kind of feeling. I can always return it back. It's not a big deal. So yes, the moment you don't have plans or direction, the moment you feel I have access to different loan apps, I can borrow money as I want, the moment you feel that yes, my lifestyle has to be big, fake it till you make it, all of those things will just keep you small, because you keep owing to show off and show out when not even needed. Now, like I said, you don't have emergency fund. Some time ago we talked about emergency fund and the usefulness. Now, emergency fund will always come into play when you have bigger opportunities coming your way and you don't have anything to use to offset. So yes, if you don't have emergency fund, you will always find yourself in mess, because life happens. You can have emergency issues even at the hospital. You can have something to repair. You can have family need. Then you would have to go back borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing just to show out that you are not stranded. So yes, when you don't have emergency fund is a problem. And yes, when you spend with your emotions. When you're happy, you want to spend. When you're sad, you want to spend. When you're heartbroken, you want to spend. When someone just pisses you off or maybe talks down at you and you feel maybe because you didn't show out today in a particular way, you want to spend. If you keep spending on emotional grounds, you would always have issues with debts, because you would always have things you would always buy things you didn't plan for. And not only buying things you didn't plan for, you would always see yourself drowning in debt. So yes, all of these are financial mistakes you make. And the idea today is to know bad debts and of course how to get out and stay out of debt. Yes, if you're just joining us, the program is Money Sense on your darling station, IPA 102.7 FM. And today we're looking into debt and financial mistakes. Debt and financial mistakes. I was talking about it, that debt are not really bad thing if you look at it. But depending on why you actually inquire or why you're actually putting that debt on you. If you actually borrow money to go to school or have a business or grow your business or invest in an asset, maybe real estate for instance, if you actually borrow money to do such kind of business, you know very well it's an investment and over time it will yield profit. But if you're borrowing money to impress or get the latest gadget or get, fund a lifestyle that's not really needed at the time, you get that in itself is a bad debt. Now, what are the financial mistakes you would make as a person that would lead you into more debt? The first thing is when you live above your means. When you try to, you don't have a budget, you don't have a direction, you just do things just anyhow. Then over dependency on loan apps, because you have access to more than 5 loan apps. You think you can borrow money and you can just enjoy yourself. Then when you now borrow money from different apps, you now still ignore those debts. You just ignore because they are small. Like say it's just 20k, it's just 10k. I can always pay. You ignore, making the interest on those loan, they get much, and over time they're just there, everything just compounding and compiling together. And like I also said, when you don't have emergency fund reserved, you are going to run into debt, because if life happens to you, you would have to go and beg and borrow money. That is also a side. Now, how do you break free from all of this? How do you break free? The first thing is you face the reality. Who do you owe? How much? When is it due? For some of us, we just want to borrow money. When people go to the bank and they tell you I want to borrow money, even when the credit officer on duty is trying to tell you this is what you're going to pay back, this is this, as in even after they've outlined the possibility that At the end of the day, you might end up working for us as the bank indirectly. You think you're selling your shop, but it's we that you're paying the money. They would explain and explain. Nobody wants to understand. The goal is just to collect that money at that time and just feel like I have this pride of I went to bank, I went to go and borrow money. When you end up paying interest and paying interest and paying heavy interest, that at the end of the day you don't even have capital to go back into the business. So yes, face your reality. How much are you owing? When you owe, put it in your heart that you are owing. How much? When is it due? Because over time, when you keep ignoring your due date, you keep having interest upon interest upon interest upon interest. At the end of the day, you lose both your capital, the profits in the business. You lose everything. That is why people tend to tag banks that banks are not good to borrow money from, or even all this little microfinance outside. They will tell you their money is not good. That's because their money is good. Their money is actually good. It is you that is not paying attention to details. You know your money, your due date is today. You would want to wait until the bank start calling you next week. And meanwhile, for after this today, for every other day you waste time, you pay. Now tell me, how much do you gain on that business? Talk more of they adding a particular amount every day for the next 1 week because you're delaying. So yes, face your reality, and yes, clarity removes fear. Once you know how much you're owing, you know the due date, you will know how you're going to work towards paying that. Then create a repayment plan for everyone you owe. Have a plan on how to offset almost every debt you owe, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's as simple as that. So yes, smallest to the greatest, higher interest first. Find a way around it. Just make sure you pay. You start picking them one after the other. You can pick the biggest, you can pick the smallest, but start and stay consistent. If for instance you are owing like maybe 10 people, then the amount varies. Yeah, make sure you start. Okay, this week I'm going to pay this person, next week I will pay this person. Don't come and pay one and say in the next 3 months. For every time you waste, the interest grows. And when the interest grows, what is the point of going into a business when your interest, your main money, and every other thing goes to those you borrowed from? What is the wisdom in that? That has no wisdom. Yes, if you genuinely want an out and you want to stay out of financial debt, it is also important that you cut off every unnecessary thing. Every unnecessary thing. The impulse buying, the soft life pressure, the cry to want to be. You wanna be. Like you've not arrived, but you want to show out like, yes, you've made it. You need to cut down on all those expenses. Imagine going to borrow 1.5 million because you want to get a hair. And the amazing thing is you don't have a job to sustain. You just want to wear the hair. When your friends are going for a party, you want to look, you want to shine. Where is the wisdom in that? So yes, if you really want to stay out of financial debt and you want to stay out of it for real, you need to cut aggressively and cut back on so many things. The outing, the eating out, the impulse buying, the data subscription that does not really make sense. In fact, the pressure. If it's friends that is going to make you or drag you back into that circle, you cut everyone out, because at the end of the day, the goal is for you to stay off debt. And even if you're going to actually get debt, it will be good debt that would bring about investment and of course profit at the end of the day. It is also very important for you to actually increase your income. Make sure you don't have just the stream of income. Make sure you do other things, learn a skill, learn a side hustle, monetize what you already know how to do well and do them well. Anything that will just take you out of that circle of debt, whatever it is, increase your income. And also build emergency fund. Yes, make sure you have a savings set aside for emergency, because life can happen to anybody at any time and life doesn't tell you when it's going to happen. Now here's a reminder for you: that does not reduce your money, it reduces your peace. Have you ever noticed that the moment you have a deadline to meet, your peace just ceases? because every step from that moment you realize that, oh, I'm paying back my loan on Monday. You start having restless, you start feeling restless, you start feeling tired, you start having panic attacks, you start having so many things that will be happening to you almost immediately. So yes, if you think you're boring and you think it is reducing your money, no, it's reducing your peace. So financial freedom is not all about showing off. It's about sleeping well at night. It's about being able to, hear someone knocking on your door and you're not panicking. Or your phone is ringing, you're not scared of checking who is calling because of course, you're not owing anybody. So yes, that would not reduce your money. It will reduce your peace. And when you have financial freedom, it will give you peace so much that you're able to sleep well and have, as in your environment, there's this serenity you feel because no one is coming to bug you about you being owing or you owing anybody.
The chick, my brother. Time na money, oh. Time na money. Time na money, eh. Time na money. Make you use your time well. No waka waka. No gossip. No spoil another man. Use your time well. Do better thing. Money.
Yeah, so I want to ask our listeners outside, have you ever made a financial mistake once and you really regret it? Like, oh, for some, it could just be maybe acquiring something you didn't need. It could be a car. Imagine getting a car and you're like, look at the amount I'm spending on, fuel, spending on the parts, spending on, doing one or two. If I had known, cars are not investment, literally. So for you to have a car, you have to have more money because of, you can just stop on the highway and you want to fix, you have to call a mechanic and all of that. So have you ever actually made a financial mistake and you regret it deeply? Then have you ever been trapped in loan debt? Are you an addict who finds it very convenient to go into loan apps to just borrow money because you feel you have access to them? Then do you think that debt is something necessary? Should you always borrow money? Should that be the case for every time you have a very tight, you're in a tight corner? Should borrowing money be the next thing? Yes. Then even after you've gone to the banks and they've explained the pros and cons of everything, now, okay, this is what's going to happen, this is your profit, this is how much you're going to be repaying us back. Even when you notice that, okay, this is not really favoring me, should going ahead to borrow the money because of the kind of reality you've set for yourself, should that be the case that you just want to borrow for borrowing's sake?
What not the chick, my brother. Time na money, oh. Time na money.
Yes, for those just joining, the program is Money Sense on your darling station, iPower 102.7 FM. And today we've been talking about debts and financial mistakes. Yes, you have good debt, we have bad debt. Which one do you want to start making henceforth? Remember, good debt are those debts that you invest yourself, you invest in something so much that before 1, 2, 3 years, you start generating profit or interest from what you inquired, you got the debt for. Why bad debt is just for you, it's just for your immediate gratification. You want to chop life, you want to roll with the big boys, you want to show that you've not arrived. You're going to borrow money to go to party, you want to borrow money to go and buy gadgets, you want to borrow money to show off to your friend that you are there when you are not there. All of those are bad debts. So yes, what are the financial mistakes one will always make that makes them look silly? The first one is when you don't have plans and you don't have direction. You just want to spend, impulse buying. You just want to just do things the way you are. Then when you are now owing, you now ignore because you tell yourself, it's just small thing and just 40k I will pay. You owe this one 50k. Everything to you is just. So yes, all of those are financial mistake and would not allow you live the reality. Now, how do you get out and stay out of financial debt? The first thing is what you face your reality. You account for every penny you owe. And afterwards, you create a repayment plan. Then you stay consistent at repaying. Of course, and also you actually stay out aggressively when it comes to living fake life, when it comes to, eating out or doing unnecessary impulse buying. You tell yourself, I am cutting out on this, and you stay on that. Temporary sacrifice equals to long-term freedom. Also, you stop borrowing. I don't know if to you it's possible or you feel it's impossible, but trust me, once you live within your means, you would understand that you don't really need to borrow from anybody. Yes, you don't need to borrow. You can live your whole life a debt-free life. And yes, increase your income. Get something doing, get something extra. Have a have an extra source of income somewhere, so much that you can rely, and when you have an emergency situation, you can actually go into your bank account and retrieve money. And yes, truthfully, you need an emergency fund. Have money set aside to meet emergency need.
Use your time well. No waka waka.
Yes, our time is fast spent today, and I want you to take this as a take home. That is not the end of a story. Because you're owing people and all of that is not the end. But ignoring it and telling yourself it's just 50k, it's just 30k, it's just, that is where the problem becomes worse. So start from where you are today. Be honest with yourself. Take small steps daily. Outline everybody you're owing. Start with how to begin to pay everybody one after the other, because at the end of the day, financial peace is better than financial pressure. This has been Money Sense, and of course my work here is to help you make smarter financial decision one step at a time. My name is Florence Ibarima. Many thanks to everyone that has worked with me on this edition. And of course, special thanks to the General Manager, Engineer Paul Olotu, and every other person that ensured that the production of this very episode is a success. Until I come your way again, same time, same station, Hyper 102.7 FM, don't forget to make smarter financial decision. Have a beautiful afternoon.
Waka waka, no gossip, no spoil another man.